Today, we delve into the blood-soaked legacy of the Bhaalspawn, the mortal progeny of Bhaal, the god of murder. Born from a grim prophecy and forged in the fires of chaos, the Bhaalspawn are marked by divine essence and an insatiable thirst for bloodshed. From the rise of legendary figures like Saravok and Abdel Adrian to the catastrophic events of the Bhaalspawn crisis, their stories are as diverse as they are devastating. But what drives these children of murder? Destiny, divine manipulation, or their own choices? And how did their existence reshape the realms of Faerun forever? Stick around as we unravel the dark history of the Bhaalspawn and their place in the prophecy of resurrection. This is a tale of blood, power, and the relentless march of fate. You won't want to miss it. The origins of the Bhaalspawn begin with the god of murder himself, Bhaal. During the time of troubles, a cataclysmic event that forced gods to walk the mortal realm, Bhaal foresaw his own inevitable death. Unlike other deities who sought to avert their demise, Bhaal, ever the pragmatist and schemer, devised a dark plan to ensure his eventual resurrection. His strategy hinged not on preventing his death, but on using it as a stepping stone to return stronger than ever. Bhaal descended to the mortal world of Toril, taking on a corporeal form. Knowing that his essence would dissipate upon death, he sought to preserve it by embedding fragments of his divine power into mortal offspring. To this end, he fathered children across nearly every race and species, scattering his progeny throughout Faerun. These children, later known as the Bhaalspawn, carried within them a shard of their father's murderous essence, often unaware of the dark legacy they inherited. Central to Bhaal's plan was the prophecy of Alando the Seer, an ancient sage whose words foretold the chaos the Bhaalspawn would bring. The prophecy declared, "The Lord of murder shall perish, but in his doom he shall spawn a score of mortal progeny. Chaos will be sown from their passing, and in the end they will bring his resurrection." This grim foretelling outlined the path Bhaal's children were destined to walk. Their very existence was a ticking time bomb, set to unleash carnage and destruction. Bhaal's ultimate design was for his children to wage a brutal war against one another, their deaths fueling the coalescence of his divine essence. When the last Bhaalspawn remained, the fragments of his power would be reunited, allowing for his resurrection. The divine essence embedded within each Bhaalspawn was both a gift and a curse. It imbued them with supernatural abilities, ranging from heightened physical prowess to magical talents, but it also burdened them with an insatiable thirst for bloodshed. The influence of Bhaal's essence varied among his children. Some were overcome by the murderous urges that drove them to acts of unspeakable violence, while others fought against their darker nature, striving to lead lives of morality and purpose. Regardless of their choices, the divine fragment within them always carried the potential for great power and great destruction. This essence also connected the Bhaalspawn to their father in profound ways. Through acts of murder and carnage, they inadvertently advanced Bhaal's plan, whether they intended or not. For some, their divine heritage was a revelation that came too late, as they were hunted or manipulated by others who sought to exploit their power. For others, it was a call to action, driving them to seize their destiny as agents of chaos or redemption. Bhaal's plan was not without complications. Mortality and free will proved to be unpredictable variables. While some of his children embraced their murderous birthright and sought to claim divinity for themselves, others resisted, charting paths of defiance or heroism. The Bhaalspawn became both pawns in a god's scheme and players in their own right, shaping the fate of Faerun in ways even Bhaal could not entirely control. The Bhaalspawn, as diverse as the races and cultures of Faerun, were united by the shared burden of their divine heritage, a fragment of Bhaal's murderous essence. This essence shaped not only their abilities, but also their personalities and appearances, often driving them toward paths of destruction, redemption, or inner conflict. The Bhaalspawn can be broadly divided into three categories based on how they responded to their nature: the evil, the conflicted, and the heroic. Many Bhaalspawn embraced their darker instincts, allowing the murderous nature of their father's essence to dominate their actions. These individuals sought power, reveling in bloodshed and destruction. Saravok Anchev is perhaps the most infamous among them, a power-hungry manipulator, Saravok orchestrated schemes of war and chaos in Baldur's Gate, believing that widespread slaughter would accelerate his ascension as the new Lord of Murder. His ruthless ambition and cold pragmatism made him a figure of terror and a worthy successor to Bhaal's legacy of death. The Five, a group of Bhaalspawn who rose to prominence during the Bhaalspawn crisis, similarly exemplified the embrace of evil. Figures like Yaga Shura, a fire giant berserker who led a rampaging army, and Sendai, a cunning drow cleric, embodied the raw, destructive potential of their divine lineage. Each member of the Five sought to outmaneuver and destroy the others in a bid for ultimate power, leaving devastation in their wake. For these Bhaalspawn, their personalities were deeply tied to their appearance. Many took on monstrous forms, such as avatars of Bhaal like the Slayer, or, in extreme cases, the Ravager. These transformations were manifestations of their inner corruption, a physical embodiment of their descent into darkness and their connection to their father's divine essence. These forms were terrifying, bestial, and lethal, often driven by an insatiable hunger for death. Not all Bhaalspawn embraced their heritage, but many found themselves trapped in a struggle between their divine instincts and their moral compass. Imbued, a loyal companion to Gorion's ward in the Baldur's Gate series, represents this group. Cheerful and optimistic by nature, Imbued was thrust into the chaos of the Bhaalspawn prophecy against her will. Her divine essence surfaced late, forcing her to confront a side of herself she never wanted. Despite this, she remained steadfast in her loyalty to her friends and her rejection of the violence that plagued so many of her kind. The protagonist of the Baldur's Gate series, Gorion's ward, is another example of a conflicted Bhaalspawn. Their journey was shaped by choices that reflected their struggle between embracing their dark heritage or rejecting it to pursue a more virtuous path. This inner turmoil defined their personality and actions, offering players a unique lens into the burden of being a Bhaalspawn. For these individuals, the divine essence was a source of both power and torment, forcing them to grapple with questions of identity and morality. Physically, conflicted Bhaalspawn often retained the appearance of their mortal heritage, though hints of their divine essence could sometimes emerge. Their transformations into the Slayer often reflected this internal battle, a frightening reminder of the dark power within them that they could neither fully reject nor escape. Abdel Adrian, one of the last Bhaalspawn, became a celebrated adventurer and later a Grand Duke of Baldur's Gate. Despite the divine essence coursing through him, Abdel devoted his life to protecting others, standing as a symbol of defiance against the prophecy that sought to define him. These heroic Bhaalspawn were marked by their strong will and resilience. While the divine essence tempted them toward violence, they used their powers for good, subverting the narrative of chaos and destruction that Bhaal had intended. Abdel's long life and leadership demonstrated how even the darkest legacies could be turned to serve a greater purpose. In terms of appearance, heroic Bhaalspawn typically reflected their mortal origins, showing few outward signs of their divine heritage unless forced into the Slayer form. These transformations, though terrifying, were often wielded with great restraint, a stark contrast to the reckless violence of their more destructive kin. The Bhaalspawn's personalities and appearances were as varied as their choices, reflecting the profound impact of Bhaal's essence on their lives. For some, it was a curse they could not escape. For others, it was a test of their will and morality. Their transformations into avatars like the Slayer or Ravager stood as vivid reminders of their connection to Bhaal, both a symbol of his lingering influence and a manifestation of the choices they made to either embrace or reject their dark legacy. The legacy of the Bhaalspawn is shaped by a few key individuals whose actions defined their era, each leaving an indelible mark on Faerun. These figures represent the spectrum of what it means to bear the divine essence of the god of murder. Saravok Ankchev. Saravok is the quintessential embodiment of Bhaal's murderous nature, driven by ambition and an unrelenting thirst for power. Born into the wealthy Ankchev family, Saravok was groomed to fulfill the prophecy of Bhaal's resurrection. Operating in Baldur's Gate, he masterminded a complex scheme of manipulation, murder, and political intrigue, all designed to incite war and widespread bloodshed. His goal was clear: to accumulate enough divine essence through chaos and slaughter to ascend as the new Lord of Murder. Sarevok's rise to power culminated in his confrontation with Gorion's ward, the protagonist of Baldur's Gate. His fall came at the hands of his sibling, marking a pivotal moment in the prophecy. Even in defeat, Sarevok's story continued, as he was later resurrected and given a chance to redeem or further condemn himself. His legacy remains one of power, ambition, and the dangers of succumbing to Bhaal's influence. Abdel Adrian, one of the most renowned Bhaalspawn, chose a path of heroism. Unlike Sarevok, Abdel rejected the dark urges instilled by his divine essence. As the protagonist of one timeline, Abdel thwarted Sarevok's schemes and played a pivotal role in halting the Bhaalspawn crisis. His deeds earned him great acclaim, and he eventually became a Grand Duke of Baldur's Gate. Abdel's final act of heroism came during his climactic battle with Viekong, the last known Bhaalspawn. This confrontation, known as Returning Day, resulted in Abdel's death and the culmination of Alando's prophecy. The divine essence of Bhaal within Abdel enabled his transformation into the Slayer, completing the cycle of resurrection and heralding the return of the god of murder. The Five. The Bhaalspawn crisis was marked by the rise of the Five, a group of powerful Bhaalspawn who wielded their divine heritage to sow chaos and destruction across Faerun. Gathered and manipulated by Amalison the Blackhearted, a former high priestess of Bhaal, the Five initially presented themselves as a united front. They were bound together by promises of power and the shared goal of fulfilling the prophecy that would lead to the resurrection of their divine father. Yet, as with much of Bhaal's legacy, betrayal and self-interest soon unraveled any semblance of unity among them, as their nature inevitably drove them toward conflict. Yagashura, the fire giant berserker, embodied brute strength and unrelenting aggression. Leading a massive army, he laid siege to the city of Saradush, slaughtering its inhabitants and leaving a trail of devastation in his wake. His immense physical power and the loyalty of his troops made him a terrifying adversary, capable of razing entire cities to the ground in pursuit of his goals. Yagashura sought not only to fulfill the prophecy, but to dominate all who opposed him, his actions showcasing the sheer destructive potential of a Bhaalspawn unrestrained by morality. Sendai, a cunning and ambitious drow cleric, operated from the shadows, amassing an army of rebel creatures from the Underdark. Her mastery of both divine and arcane magic made her a formidable force, and her tactical acumen allowed her to strike at her enemies with precision. Sendai's rebellion against the surface world was as much a demonstration of her power as it was a bid for dominance. Her machinations in the Underdark added an element of intrigue and strategy to the chaos of the Bhaalspawn crisis, reflecting the dangerous combination of intelligence and ruthlessness that characterized her. Ilisera, an elven warrior with a mastery of magical arts, adopted a more direct approach to the crisis. Swift and deadly, she hunted her fellow Bhaalspawn with relentless determination, eliminating them one by one to consolidate her own power. Her precision and cunning in combat made her a fearsome opponent, and her actions exemplified the singular focus of a Bhaalspawn intent on surviving at any cost. Ilisera's role in the crisis highlighted the deadly competition among Bhaal's progeny, with even the most fleeting alliances giving way to the inevitability of betrayal. Abazigal, a blue half-dragon Kensai, stood apart from his peers with his monstrous nature and martial discipline. Fortifying his lair in the lands of intrigue, Abazigal used his draconic heritage to command awe and fear, making him a nearly insurmountable obstacle for those who dared to challenge him. His strength, combined with his mastery of combat techniques, made him a unique and dangerous adversary. Abazigal's presence in the crisis underscored the diversity of Bhaalspawn, as his dragon blood added an additional layer of power and menace to his character. Balthazar, a human monk, represented a different kind of Bhaalspawn. While he was undoubtedly powerful, he struggled against his darker impulses and sought to end the chaos caused by his siblings. Leading a monastic order in Amkithron, Balthazar believed that the only way to stop the prophecy from coming to fruition was to eliminate all Bhaalspawn, including himself. His internal conflict and ultimate goal of self-sacrifice contrasted sharply with the unrestrained ambition of the others, making him a tragic figure within the crisis. Balthazar's story illustrated the burden of being a Bhaalspawn and the potential for resistance against their murderous nature, even if it came at great personal cost. Imoen's journey as a Bhaalspawn is one of innocence tested by harsh realities. Initially introduced as a cheerful and loyal companion to Gorion's ward, she was thrust into the chaos of the prophecy without warning. Her divine essence manifested late, and she struggled to reconcile her carefree nature with the burden of her heritage. Despite being captured and tortured during the events of Baldur's Gate 2, Imoen retained her humanity, using her powers only when necessary. Her story is one of resilience and loyalty, as she stood by Gorion's ward in their battles against Sarevok, Irenicus, and the Five. Imoen represents the potential for goodness in Bhaalspawn, a counterpoint to the destruction wrought by others of her kind. The Dark Urge. In Baldur's Gate 3, the Dark Urge stands as a unique Bhaalspawn, created directly from Bhaal's divine blood. Unlike others born through mortal conception, the Dark Urge is an embodiment of Bhaal's will, making them his favored child. Their existence is marked by an insatiable compulsion to kill, driving them to acts of unparalleled brutality. The Dark Urge's story explores the tension between their murderous instincts and their attempts to carve out their own identity. Players can shape the Dark Urge's journey, choosing to embrace their legacy as an instrument of murder or to resist it, forging a path of redemption. This internal struggle makes the Dark Urge one of the most compelling portrayals of a Bhaalspawn, blending raw divinity with mortal vulnerability. These notable Bhaalspawn illustrate the vast spectrum of experiences, choices, and fates tied to Bhaal's essence. Whether they embraced their murderous birthright, fought to overcome it, or sought to redefine themselves, their stories are the threads that weave together the dark and bloody legacy of the God of Murder. The Bhaalspawn have appeared across various media, each depiction adding layers to their complex legacy and broadening the understanding of their role in the world of Faerun. Their story has been brought to life through video games, novels, and other forms of storytelling, each medium exploring different facets of these fascinating and tragic figures. The Baldur's Gate video game series is the most iconic representation of the Bhaalspawn. Beginning with the original Baldur's Gate and continuing through Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of Amn and Throne of Bhaal, the games tell the story of Gorion's ward, a Bhaalspawn who must navigate their divine heritage while battling their siblings and other threats. These games allow players to shape the character's journey, offering a unique exploration of morality and identity. The narrative intricacies of Sarevok Anchev's rise to power, Imoen's struggles, and the climactic events of the Bhaalspawn crisis have become legendary in the role-playing genre, establishing the Bhaalspawn as one of the most compelling elements of the Forgotten Realms setting. In novels, the Bhaalspawn are prominently featured in the Baldur's Gate 2 Throne of Bhaal novelization, where Abdel Adrian takes center stage. As one of the last surviving Bhaalspawn, Abdel's journey from adventurer to hero to Grand Duke of Baldur's Gate is chronicled in vivid detail, culminating in his tragic final battle with Viakang. The novels provide a more focused and personal view of the Bhaalspawn's legacy, exploring their impact on the world through a literary lens. The lore of the Bhaalspawn also extends into tabletop gaming, particularly through the sourcebooks and adventure modules of Dungeons & Dragons. Players can immerse themselves in the mythology of Bhaalspawn through campaigns that draw on the events of the Bhaalspawn crisis, or by encountering remnants of their influence, such as the fallout from Bhaal's resurrection or the actions of his chosen. The Bhaalspawn have become a symbol of high-stakes storytelling in Dungeons & Dragons, embodying the themes of prophecy, divine manipulation, and the struggle between destiny and free will. In more recent years, Baldur's Gate 3 has revitalized interest in the Bhaalspawn through characters like Orin the Red and the Dark Urge. These figures expand on the legacy of the God of Murder's progeny, exploring the consequences of their actions and the lingering influence of Bhaal's essence. The Dark Urge, in particular, represents a modern interpretation of the Bhaalspawn, offering players an intimate look at their internal conflict and the choices they must make between embracing their murderous nature or seeking redemption. The story of the Bhaalspawn is one of conflict, chaos, and choice, a legacy shaped by the dark designs of the God of Murder and the mortal struggles of his children. Across Faerun, their presence brought devastation and transformation, altering the realms forever. Whether they embraced their murderous destiny, resisted it to forge their own paths, or fell victim to the forces that sought to control them, each Bhaalspawn left a mark on the world that cannot be forgotten. From the schemes of Saravak and Baldur's Gate to the cataclysmic events of the Bhaalspawn crisis, their stories remind us of the fine line between destiny and free will. They were not mere pawns in a god's plan, but individuals faced with impossible choices, torn between their divine essence and mortal desires. Even after Bhaal's resurrection, the legacy of his children echoes through the realms, from the blood-stained halls of Saradush to the modern tales of Orin the Red and the Dark Urge. If you enjoyed this dive into the dark history of the Bhaalspawn, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the legendary stories of Faerun and beyond. Your support keeps us delving into the lore you love. Until next time, remember, destiny may call, but it's the choices we make that define us. See you in the next video.
In Bhaal's name.